Rook buddy, I've got to say, you've been hanging around in the wrong places, and I'm not just talking about the human world. I mean, come on. You've spent how many years handing out that death note like it's some kind of twisted prize? We need to have a serious talk, my friend. I get it, you're bored. I mean, who wouldn't be after centuries of watching humans struggle? But let's talk about what really matters here. You've got potential, Ryuk. You've got time, wisdom, and let's be honest, a flair for drama that could be used for something better than, well, killing people off in alphabetical order. Let me remind you, life is a gift. It's something I gave freely, and every life has value, no matter how insignificant it might seem to a Shinigami like you. The problem, Ryuk, is that you've lost sight of that. You think death is the final answer. I mean, yeah, you're a death god. Death is kind of your thing. But here's the truth you need to chew on. Death isn't a punishment, and it's not a game. It's a transition. And what's on the other side depends on how you've lived. Let's look at you for a second. You've got power, but what are you doing with it? Writing names down, enjoying apples, and causing chaos. I mean, apples are great. I'm a fan of fruit myself, but you can't tell me that you're really fulfilled by just sitting back and watching humans mess up their lives because they think they have some ultimate control. How about doing something that actually matters, Ryuk? I know you've got it in you to make a change. You might be thinking, but Jesus, I'm just a Shinigami. What do you expect? Well, I expect a lot, Ryuk. I expect that with all the knowledge you've accumulated watching humans, you know the difference between good and evil. It's not too late to switch sides, you know, and I can see that look on your face. You think I don't know your past? Ryuk, I know everything. I know you've been pulling strings behind the scenes, letting Light go wild with that notebook, watching him destroy life after life, all because you were looking for some excitement. But let's be real here. Light went off the deep end because he thought he was playing God. And you didn't exactly discourage him, did you? You sat back, munching on your apples, watching the whole thing unfold like it was some kind of sick reality show. But Ryuk, you weren't being neutral. By doing nothing, you were part of the problem. You ever hear of compassion? It's something I preach about a lot. It's about seeing the pain, the struggle, the humanity in others and choosing to help instead of hurt. You could be a force for good, Ryuk. Imagine this. Instead of dropping notebooks of death into the human world, how about spreading a little kindness? I'm not asking you to hand out miracle cures or anything, leave that to me. But what if you encouraged people to live better lives rather than end them? You know, sometimes people just need a little push in the right direction. Maybe you've heard of this concept called grace. Grace is when you give someone a chance, even when they don't deserve it. And trust me, humans need a lot of grace. I know it's hard to watch them make mistakes over and over again. Believe me, I've seen it all. But grace is what makes them grow. If you really want to see something interesting, Ryuk, try helping them instead of hindering them. You could start by, wait for it, talking to humans instead of just lurking around like a shadow. Ever try that? Strike up a conversation. You might be surprised at what you learn. They're not all bad. Sure, they've got their flaws, pride, greed, the whole 7 deadly sins thing. But they've also got potential for love, kindness, and sacrifice. You saw that in some of them, didn't you? You watched Light, but you also saw the ones fighting against him, the ones willing to risk everything for justice, for others. You can't tell me that didn't affect you, at least a little. Here's another thing, Ryuk. If you're looking for excitement, try forgiveness. Oh, I know, it's not as flashy as writing names in a notebook, but it's far more powerful. When you forgive someone, you set them free. And yourself. You break the cycle of violence, hate, and fear. And don't think for a second that just because you're a Shinigami, you can't learn to forgive. Look at yourself, Ryuk. Look at how long you've carried the weight of apathy and destruction. You've seen the worst in humans, and it's probably made you a little jaded. But if you want something truly different, something that might even bring you peace in your existence. Give forgiveness a try. I get it though. You're still clinging to that notebook like it's your only friend. But here's the truth, that notebook isn't your friend. It's a tool of destruction, and the more you use it, the further you drift from what's good, from what's right. You're not bound to it, Ryuk. You can let go. And believe me, letting go is one of the most freeing things you can do. You weren't made to sit on the sidelines, watching life crumble. You've got a bigger purpose than that. I see that in you. Speaking of which, Ryuk, have you ever considered using your power for good? I mean, I know it's not in the Shinigami handbook, but rules were made to be bent sometimes, right? You have influence over humans. You've watched them for centuries. You know what makes them tick. What if you used that knowledge to steer them towards something better? Think of it like this. Instead of tempting them with power, why not encourage them to pursue wisdom? Real wisdom. Not just the kind that comes from books, but the kind that comes from living a life of purpose, of love, of service to others. I know it sounds pretty wild for a Shinigami, but hey, I'm all about radical change. Don't worry though. I'm not saying you need to turn into some kind of saint overnight. I know old habits die hard, but Ryuk, you could start small. Baby steps, you know. Maybe the next time you're tempted to stir up chaos, just don't. Maybe try something different. See what happens when you give a little instead of taking away. You might find it's more satisfying than you thought. And let's talk about Light for a second, because I know you still think about him. You saw what happened to him. He lost his way, not because he was inherently evil, but because he was consumed by his own power. You could have helped him see that. You could have intervened, showed him that being a god wasn't what he really wanted or needed. Instead, you let him spiral. But here's the thing, Ryuk. You don't have to let that happen again. There will be more humans like Light, drawn to power, tempted by control. But you, Ryuk, you can be the difference. And don't tell me you're too far gone to change, because I don't buy that for a second. You know what I preach, right? Redemption. It's never too late, no matter who you are or what you've done. I've forgiven murderers, thieves, even people who betrayed me personally. So don't you dare tell me a Shinigami can't change. You've got the time, you've got the wisdom, and you've got me rooting for you. You know, Ryuk, I've seen beings a lot more stubborn than you turn their lives around. I mean, look at Saul of Tarsus. That guy was literally persecuting my followers, throwing people in prison, thinking he was doing the right thing, and then bam! He had an encounter with me, and his whole worldview flipped upside down. The man went from being one of the most feared to one of the most compassionate. If Saul can change, Ryuk, I'm pretty sure you can too. And here's the thing, Saul wasn't bored, he was misguided. You're just bored out of your mind. If a guy on a mission like him can transform, someone who's just killing time, literally, should be able to find a new path pretty easily. Now let's talk about your boredom. I get it, I really do. Eternity can seem like a long time, especially when you're not doing anything meaningful with it. But the thing is, purpose isn't found in just watching people mess up or throwing more obstacles in their way. Purpose is found in lifting others up. You've watched enough humans to know how fragile life is and how precious. So, what if you made your eternal existence about something more than playing death's errand boy? Think about it. You could be the Shinigami who brings hope. The one who, instead of dropping death notes and getting people to kill each other, inspires them to live better lives. Yeah, I know, it sounds a bit optimistic for a death god, but hear me out. There's more to existence than just watching the cycle of death and destruction. Humans are capable of incredible things when they're given a second chance. And you, Ryuk, could be part of giving them that chance. What if you used all that energy you've been putting into mischief and turned it into something constructive? Imagine the look on their faces if, instead of another death note, you gave them a book on compassion or a guide to inner peace. Okay, maybe that's too much of a stretch for you, but you get the idea. You can be the spark that ignites change in others. And let me tell you, The satisfaction you'll get from seeing someone turn their life around because of you is way better than watching them spiral into darkness. Think about it. All these centuries of watching humans struggle, wouldn't it be more satisfying to see them thrive? You've been on the sidelines of life for too long. It's time to step in and make a difference. And the best part? You don't have to do it alone. I'm here. I've always been here, and I always will be. You just need to make the choice.